Hey everyone, welcome to ReadIT, and today we have some AskReddit posts. The user my wife killed my first account asking, "What was your biggest treat yourself regret?" I just passed my exams in university, so decided to treat myself to some Ben Jerry's. I woke up covered in hives, vomiting, and burning up. Apparently I had an unknown allergy. It was the worst week of my life. Edit, for those curious, the allergist didn't find anything common that I was allergic to. This was over a decade ago and I've never had issues since. It may well have been a fluke or something else. I bought a pair of quad roller skates on a whim. Meaning that I did no research. Turns out there is quite a bit of intricacy with skates. I had purchased a pair meant for speed, meant for indoor rinks. My intended use was for outdoor skating. This resulted in falling on my ass a million times outside and having zero control on my newly paved road. After buying softer wheels meant for outdoors, wow, it's a huge difference. I should have done some research and saved myself a good chunk of money. I regret the spur of the moment purchase, but I am glad that I got the skates and new wheels. Edit, I purchased a second-hand pair of Rock GT50s from someone in town since the closest storefront with stock was over an hour away. It looks comparable to images online, so I assume there were no modifications. I swapped the 95A wheels for a set of 78A. Thought I've never been on a cruise. I want to go on a cruise now. So booked a 2-week Caribbean cruise, in a suite, with the wife. Who, on arrival, decided she didn't like me anymore and spent 2 weeks avoiding me, so I spent 2 weeks on my own on this bloody ship. We're divorced now. The day after our wedding my husband and I left for our honeymoon. This included 2.5 hours of driving to the airport, 2 hours of waiting for the plane, 4 hours of flying, and then 3 hours of driving with no plan of where to sleep. We assumed Route 1 in California would have hotels on it and we'd just stop somewhere for the night. All of this while I'd only gotten 2 hours of sleep and he was super hungover. The worst part was Route 1 also has hardly any cell reception for Verizon, so we couldn't figure out where we were headed, except north, and where we could find food and sleep. It was very stressful and we griped a bit at each other until we finally got enough cell service to figure out that we were half an hour away from Santa Rosa and could get a hotel room there. Then we were back to our happy selves and enjoyed the rest of our trip. I can definitely see how shit like that can stress a relationship, and people should know they can handle a road trip before they get married. A pair of Louboutins. Not comfortable. The sole wears away incredibly quickly. Heels easily get scraped on grates. I lived somewhere with lots of grates. Quick note from someone who worked in fashion and knows these designers and the factories where they're made. Louboutins are expensive and they're not well made. Just a name. Jimmy Choo sold his company and name ages ago. Nothing too special anymore except brand recognition. Manolos are well made, and they are made in a factory that also sells another identical shoe without the name, brand, or price. I will update when I find it. Sorry, I forgot. Sergio Rossi also sold the name about a decade ago or so. If you want the real Sergio Rossi, buy Gianvito Rossi. Named after his son, I believe, but that's Rossi's current company. Gianmarco Lorenzi makes excellent shoes. Caparici makes excellent shoes. Elisilla usually makes excellent shoes. Friends, I will check my closet and come back with some shoes for you guys. I apologize for the brain fog. Bought a pair of used snowmobiles for $2,000. Had them for 2 years. First year we both got the flu. The 1 week the snowmobile trails were open, so never used them. Second year my wife was pregnant, so we decided to sell them. Ends up one no longer wants to start and the other one runs but now has issues. Ended up selling them for $500. Never once used them besides unloading them from the trailer when we bought them. I once bought a good quality regulation pool table, 8x44, with all the accessories for about $4,000. But after moving to a new location, I regretted the purchase because there was no room for it, other than to give up the dining room and replace the dining room chandelier with a billiards light fixture. All-you-can-eat sushi bar. Did the math on how much sushi I had to eat to save money from just buying the rolls individually. I hit my goal, but at what cost? I was trying not to throw up for the whole drive home, and spent the rest of the day in bed clutching my stomach and rethinking my life. Don't we all? Don't we all? Bought a telescope. But then I needed a camera to take pics. Then I needed a camera and smaller scope to guide it. Then I needed a better, more expensive mount. Then I needed another camera to help set up the more expensive mount. Then I needed cases and storage for this stuff. And another camera. And a star tracker. Then all of a sudden I have thousands in gear that I've used exactly never because it's freezing and cloudy most of the good viewing season anyways. Bought a BMW 135i when I already had a perfectly good Nissan 350Z that was paid off. I was young and dumb and had just started making serious money for the first time in my life, so when I looked at that monthly payment I said, this is fine, I can totally make this, not taking into account all of the other bills that can suddenly crop up. One of the worst decisions I ever made, easily. An acquaintance of mine had a Toyota RAV4 and traded it in for a used BMW X3. Not even a year later the X3 broke and he had to take the bus for a while because he couldn't afford the repair cost. He ended up buying an old Corolla shitbox while the X3 sat in his garage. I haven't heard from him so I'm not sure what happened later. Went to Vegas and spent more money than I had intended. Had a blast but flash forward a month later I had nothing to pay my car payment and in Florida if you are late 1 month they can repo your car. They did. I thought someone had stolen my car and actually called the police. The next day GM Financing, AskReddit, called and demanded the full balance of my loan to get it out of the impound. That's Florida law. I still owed $4,000 to $5,000 on it at the time. Apparently here they can repo if they choose to. I thought 1 month wouldn't be a big deal. Never saw the car again and it was sold in auction. I was insanely broke as a 22-year-old and just landed a new job. I was so excited about it and decided to celebrate by buying chicken nuggets and a caramel frappe from McDonald's. The breading from the first damn chicken nugget managed to cut the inside of my throat and I couldn't speak for 2 days. Just binge eating. I struggled with binge eating disorder for the entirety of my teenage years and the shame and guilt and disgust that came after a binge is something I would just ignore and convinced myself to not see as problematic because I was treating myself. Some of my worst, that I can remember. 2 Jimmy John's sandwiches, and cookies and chips, a giant bowl of leftover spaghetti, entire box of baked ravioli, 2 bottles of sparkling grape juice. Entire loaf of Italian bread with butter, half a tub of ice cream, party-size bag of salt vinegar chips, 2 boxes of macaroni and cheese. 3 overstuffed, large takeout boxes of buffet food washed down with too much Dr. Pepper. Party-size bag of corn chips, whole jar of Tostitos Queso Blanco, box of Swiss rolls, 3 Monster Energy drinks, 2 blocks of dry ramen with the seasoning on them. The regret that followed was usually in the form of throwing up because I was so full, having bruised my stomach making it difficult to move, and obviously, feeling like shit overall. Luckily I am on a medication now for bed and have gone to therapy, so my binges are very few and far between. Those I listed were all from ages 13 to 19, and I'm 22 now and healthier than I have ever been. I don't drink sugary drinks or eat any processed foods, rarely get takeout, and have significantly increased my fruit/vegetable intake. The best part is that I can stick to normal portion sizes. Even the thought of the way I constantly caved and stuffed myself before is disturbing to me now, and I could never imagine doing it again. I really wonder how many years I took off my life by eating like that. Edit. Since some are asking and I've gotten a number of DMs about it, the medication I take is Vyvanse. It's primarily used for treating ADHD in adults, but is also used in the treatment of BED. It doesn't necessarily decrease my appetite as much as it just keeps me from going black hole on my kitchen. In my experience, it makes me significantly less impulsive, which has been crucial in managing my binge eating. Vyvanse is a controlled substance because it has a high potential to be abused, so it might not be the best or easiest medication to get. I would suggest visiting a psychiatrist if you are able to and ask what they think would be best in your personal treatment, since nothing is a one-size-fits-all solution. I also recommend seeing a dietitian, optional, and finding a counselor, absolutely imperative. A dietitian can help you change your eating habits to healthier ones and get you on the road to recovering physically and becoming more mindful of how food works in your body. A counselor can help you address what triggers your binges and aid you in preventing them or coping with the aftermath if you do fall through. BED is a very psychological thing, so a counselor in addition to psychiatric treatment is so important. Recovering was one of the hardest things I've done, but has been worth every moment of the struggle. Even now, I still binge if my medication refill is late for whatever reason, but not having unhealthy food in my house makes it much less destructive. You are not lazy, you do not just lack discipline, you are not a disgusting glutton, you have a mental switch that just flips itself and makes you binge whether you want to or not. This isn't your fault, and you can overcome it. I didn't think I ever would, but I somehow made it mostly out. It's possible, I promise.